Hi guys, it's gsmon.com and I'm here with a handset called the E-Boda Eruption V200 Quad Core. It's a handset from Romanian company E-Boda. You probably heard about E-Boda before from our sister channel Tablet News that usually does reviews of Romanian tablets such as the E-Boda slates. Okay, so we're dealing with a handset that has a quad-core processor, obviously, considering its name. The price tag is $280 and this is a dual SIM quad-core phone and the very first E-Boda handset, which is a pretty nice try. As far as design goes, this handset measures 8.9mm in thickness. It weighs 124 grams, it comes with a black or white back shell, both are included in the package with the phone, and it has a pretty nice design if you ask me. It makes me think of a Lumia or a modern Alcatel phone, which is a compliment. We have a big lens in the camera area, and the camera, as you can see, protrudes from the design quite a lot. If you rest the handset like this on a flat surface, it will lay on the camera because it's pretty big. Up front we've got 3 capacitive buttons below the screen. We got this earpiece right here. We got rounded corners. We have this front camera, sensors right here. Moving even further, we got the back side with a speaker, a megapixel camera, a microphone above it, dual LED flash, and this cover can be removed. It's a pretty slippery plastic case and the whole handset feels slippery. Dual SIM slots, next to them the micro SD card slot, and then the battery and the flash yet again. By the way, you can see the speaker better here, and I seem to be pressing the screen by mistake. Okay, let's continue our analysis of the review. You already saw the back and now it's time to check out the upper side. Micro USB port, audio jack. At the sides we have the buttons, on-off button here, volume buttons here. Pretty hard to press, consider that the case is slippery and the buttons are also plastic and slippery, so everything is plasticky, slippery, and a big fingerprint magnet. We've got a fake metal frame all around the device. Don't let it fool you, it's not real metal but fake metal frame. Overall, this handset sits well in the user's hand. As you can see, it's pretty ergonomic, and although it's made of plastic, it has a very nice feel and a nice design, especially the back side. You wouldn't say it's a lower end model because it's actually not a lower end model. It's a quad-core dual SIM phone on a reasonable budget. Inside the hood we find a MediaTek processor, a quad-core MT6589M processor. It's a Cortex A7 quad-core 1.2 GHz CPU. As far as the GPU goes, we got a PowerVR SGX544. We get 1 gig of DDR2 RAM, and the storage is 4 gigs, of which 2 are available to the user. There's also a micro SD card slot with support for up to 32 gigabytes of extra space. Now, as far as the display goes, what you have here is a 4.5-inch IPS with a resolution of 960 over 540 pixels. We also have Wi-Fi. We got dual band on this handset, DLNA, Wi-Fi Direct, HSDPA with 21 megabytes per second. We got Bluetooth 4.0. We also installed a new version of YouTube, and we have an 8 megapixel camera with autofocus and dual LED flash, a front 2 megapixel camera, and GPS G sensor with 3 axis, proximity sensor, and magnetic sensor as well. The battery inside this handset, well, it's a 1800 mAh unit, 3.7 volts and a 6.66 watt hour. We have some screenshots of our battery usage. Okay, it took us 2 hours and a half to charge the battery to full, and on paper this handset should last for 144 hours in standby or 630 minutes of 3G talk time. Well, for us it lasts 1 hour of picture taking in the park plus 2 movies, so that's about it. You know, one day we did 1 hour of video capture, photo capture, plus 2 movies of 1.5 hours, and then we were left with about 13% of the battery. This means that you get about 4 hours of gaming or about 5 hours of video from the device, and it could have been much better if you ask me. Okay, now I'm going to go to the audio. I'm going to listen to some music and see how the handset can handle the music. We also have the headphones of the device available here. A pair of headphones that look reasonably nice for a handset that costs below $250. They're kind of big for a normal person's ear, kind of uncomfortable, but their volume is solid. Okay, now let's listen to the tune. Speaker right here. Okay, now let's talk a bit about the audio. The volume is reasonably good, but it's below what an all-view handset can give you, a rival model also from Romania. The headphones are surprisingly good, we have very good bass, they're uncomfortable, and on the speaker at the back of a phone, as you heard, the drums or the percussion in songs is heard like a broken sound. That's my only bad impression. As far as the rest of the audio experience goes, the sound is very clear, the bass is very good, and the volume is pretty loud. The speaker is easily muffled if you place the handset on a flat surface or you cover it by mistake with your hand. Very easy to muffle with that. And there's also special settings in the setting area. Audio profiles, as you can see, we have BES audio enhancer for your earphones. Basically it makes everything sound better and the bass a bit deeper, but I usually keep it off. Okay, so and we also have FM radio, which is a pain to find. I can't really see it. Okay, here it is. FM radio requires you to plug in the earphones. Okay, here we go. Pretty basic app with the option for recording stuff, your basic FM radio application. So on the audio side, we're very happy with the headphones in spite of them being uncomfortable. We're happy with the volume, although it's below the all-view rivals, and we're happy with the clarity. My only objection is that the speaker can be muffled and that the percussion doesn't sound right in songs with percussion. Okay, now let's move the headphones aside and let's proceed to the video section of the review. We're dealing here with an IPS screen, 4.5 inch, 240 ppi, resolution of 960 over 540, and I'm going to show you a trailer of Despicable Me 2. The colors are pretty vivid, and this screen can reach 307 lux units in brightness, so 307 lux is pretty good. It's brighter than the Galaxy S4 that reached 200 units. Its pixel arrangement is of the RGB stripe kind, and the screen has a slight whitish hue, a problem that was also met on the Xperia Z. There is a slight whitish hue, but it doesn't bother us. We got good viewing angles, as you can see. It's an IPS after all. It was expected that the view angles would be good. Okay, and the behavior in sunlight is pretty decent. And the E-Boda V200 screen we have here is pretty similar with the screen of the all-view P5 Quad, which is also a Romanian phone and a rival for this handset. I spoke to you about the pixel arrangement, and this is what the screen looks like under a microscope on white and on black. As I said, 307 lux units on white for this handset. Okay, now I'm going to access the camera area, and for that I'm going to need this little toy camera. Pretty usual interface, nothing fancy. We got the option for normal picture, an option for HDR, an option for beautification, and one for panorama. Okay, there is also the usual collection of settings. You can store location, play with a bunch of exposure settings, use a bunch of color effects, sun scene modes, a lot of scene modes, white balance options, a lot of them as well, image properties like sharpness, hue, saturation, brightness or contrast, anti-flicker. Then we move to self-timer, continuous shot up to 99 shots, pixel size 8 megapixels, ISO going up to 1600, and finally video capture. You can tweak the audio mode, time-lapse interval, and video quality. It doesn't say here, but it can do 1080p video capture. Let's take a shot of this little guy. Reasonably fast camera. We got tap to focus. Pretty decent picture if you ask me, especially for a handset that's available on a budget. Okay, now I'm going to show the gallery. We got a variety of shots in the camera area. Let me start off with shots taken with continuous capture. This is a burst shot, so if you look closely, the wind was blowing to the flower and you can see it moving shot by shot. By the way, this is the purpose of a burst shot. for stuff to move in front of you. Okay, I also have a panorama, pretty decent one on a sunny day. The camera actually surprised me. It's a pretty good camera. Of course, it deals with problems like oversaturation and unrealistic colors, but the clarity and quality are not problems here. You'll see a slight problem here with the focus. Tends to lose a bit of focus sometimes. Happens even with the best handset models out there. However, it does some pretty nice close-ups of flowers. You'll see some here. One of the best shots. This is actually a very good shot. Flowers again. If it weren't for the oversaturation, I'd say that this camera is very good. It's, however, only good. The video is taken in a 3GP format, which is not the best format out there. I have to say it's very compressed. That's the main problem. And pictures are oversaturated, and the HDR is slightly exaggerated. You'll see some of the shots that will follow are done with HDR. And the HDR, as I said, is slightly exaggerated. It puts too much white in the pictures, trying to get the proper dynamic range. Overall, the camera is a pleasant surprise, especially as far as daylight shots are concerned. And here's yet another video. The video is not that bad. If it weren't a 3GP file and if it didn't lose focus, it would be perfect. However, as I said, this handset is a cheap one, $240, and for that the camera is very good, especially since we have a dual LED flash, which is always a plus in dark situations. Okay, so now we're here to talk software. In the about section you can see that we're running on Android 4.1.2, and now it's time to show you what the browser on the device can do. Virtual keyboard, standard one, comfy to use. Going to show you gsmdom.com. Here's our website. The browser isn't exactly the fastest I've seen, but it does the job. Allows you to read our website, or any website for that matter. This is how the switching between tabs is done. And that was the web browsing experience. Now it's time to find out more about the performance of the device with the help of a few benchmarks, the usual ones. I decided to compare this quad-core Romanian phone with another quad-core Romanian phone, the AllView P5 Quad, and the previously reviewed Prestigio Multiphone 5044 Duo. Okay, so let's see. In quadrant we scored 4037 points. We were beaten by the AllView P5 Quad with 4100 points, but we beat the Prestigio handset by about 100 points. I chose these three models because they share the MediaTek quad-core MT6589 processor. So all three of them have the same CPU. Okay, in Antutu we scored 13,000 points and 300. We got beaten by the AllView P5 Quad by 200 points, but we beat the Prestigio by 100 points. And then a Mark II, 49 frames per second, the same result as the AllView P5 Quad, and we beat the Prestigio by about 4 frames per second. In Valamo, pretty good score, 1412, we beat the AllView P5 Quad that only scored 1390, and we got beaten by the Prestigio by about 50 points. Finally, 3D Mark. Here we scored 2678, not very impressive, got beaten by the Prestigio with 5,000 points, excuse me, with 500 points. Let's get back to that. Here we go. Okay, so 3D Mark, 2678 for the E-Boda V200, while the Prestigio scored 3100, so it beat us. Sadly, there's no result for the AllView P5 Quad. Finally, Browser Mark 2.0, disappointing result, 1628. However, at least this handset runs the Browser Mark test, while the Prestigio handset didn't. So those are the benchmark results. We're sitting in between handsets. The other models I mentioned, at least the Prestigio was more expensive, had a bigger resolution screen. So I'd say we're sitting pretty well for $240. Now we're going to continue the analysis of the software on this device. First, from the notification area, you can see the usual toggles for Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, GPS, data connection, airplane mode, also general, silent, meeting and outdoor settings, plus the usual notifications and a quick shortcut to the settings area. Okay, so speaking of settings, let me access that area and the display, and you'll see that we got a bunch of scenes to work with. For now only 2 of them. You get the work and the default scene. Then you can also change the theme with a variety of colors. of course the wallpaper, and you can activate an option called economize battery. When the battery is less than 11%, you'll see that the screen becomes more dim. Okay, now we got the lock screen that I want to show you. This is the area of the lock screen with its options: unlock, go straight to call, or go to email. I went straight to the call. We got pretty nice sounds on this handset. There are customized sounds, as you can hear when you lock and unlock the device. There's also pretty nice sound playing when you get an email, also a customized one. If you keep the home button pressed, you can do the multitasking, which you probably knew from many other Android devices. Okay, now I'm going to enter the dialer, and I'm going to speak about the call quality. It's very good on this device. There's no problem with the signal, and you can hear the person on the other end of the call just fine, so no problem whatsoever. If you press the menu button in the home screen, you get the option to manage the wallpaper, apps, the system settings, and the effects settings. You can change the home screen transitions, or you can opt for another type of transition, and the apps page switch transition as well, so all types of transitions can be changed. You can also use this launcher manager to change your home page or add another home screen if you want. And basically this is stock Android aside from the icons, sounds and effects. That's what the maker of the device, the brander of the device, added to this handset: sounds, icons and effects. Okay, now I'm going to go to the app list and show you what pre-installed apps we can find with the E-Boda V200. We got a file manager, pretty comfy to use, pretty fast. Aside from that, we have a calendar, and I'm going to show the calendar because it's not a standard app, or at least it's not the standard app that I know. Okay, moving even further, we got a notebook, so you can take notes here. Pretty basic one, nothing complicated. It's no super note light from Asus, that's for sure. We got a sound recording application that does just what the name says, nothing fancy. And then we move further to an app called One Mobile Market. It's an alternative to the Play Store. It allows you to download apps. 99% of them are basically stuff you can find in the Google Play Store. We got Adobe Air, Adobe Reader, we got Documents to Go for productivity, we have the usual ES File Explorer and ES Task Manager bundled here. They also bundled Facebook and Firefox, which are pretty nice things to bundle on a handset. Also we have Flash Player and Maps, Google Maps, available here. So you can start looking for places to go out or find your orientation in a new neighborhood or in a new town. Okay, this was Google Maps. We also get applications. In this is a Romanian company. We get an application called Taxi for taxis in Romania. And then we get Firefox, as I said, Google Maps. We get an app called News and Weather. Top stories, weather, stuff specific to the US, sports, entertainment, and other stuff like that. Okay, and finally the last app I'm going to show you is TuneIn Radio, also bundled with this handset. The last thing I want to show you in this review is the fact that the game Riptide GP2 runs on this handset. Once again, this is a quad-core MediaTek handset, and since I also play this game on a quad-core MediaTek tablet, well, there's no reason for it not to run on this device. Well, maybe the screen, but in this case it works just fine on this QHD screen. This is a game launched this summer 2013, and it's a benchmark game, usually meant for Tegra devices, but it moved further to other devices. Riptide GP2, it's a hydrojet racing game, and we're testing it right now on the E-Boda V200 Quad core. And since we're going to wait a bit for the race to start, I'm going to list the pros and cons for buying this handset. First of all, we have a very good price. The price tag is between $270 and $280, affordable for a quad-core dual-SIM handset. The design is quite nice, as you can see, in spite of it being a plasticky handset. Okay, other arguments are the accessories bundled with the phone. So we get that protection foil that you can apply on top of the screen, and aside from that we also get an extra case for the back. You can switch between the white and the black one, and as you can see, Riptide GP runs just fine. Moving even further, other stuff for mentioning here are the headphones that have very good acoustics. The screen is basically without flaw. I didn't find many flaws on the screen, maybe aside from the slight whitish hue that it gets at times. The camera is also pretty nice. It was a pleasant surprise, if you ask me, the camera of this handset. It's an 8 megapixel camera with a dual LED flash. Now back to the race. We have lots of bundled apps available on this phone, including Firefox, including One Mobile Market, Facebook, it's included. Those are the little things that matter. And now on the cons side, the design is slippery, the battery doesn't last as long as we would like it to, and the audio is below the other Eastern European rivals of this phone, like the AllView handsets. We would have wanted a bit more volume and a bit more audio quality. Finally, the web browser on the device is slow, which also goes in the cons, but we have Firefox to replace it. Okay, now I'm going to give some grades to the handset. We give it an 8.5 out of 10 for design, an 8 for hardware, it loses points in the battery and audio department, and for the operating system and user interface, a 9. It would have been 10 if we had Android 4.2. The final grade is 8.5 out of 10 for the E-Boda V200 Quad-Core Dual SIM phone, price tag of $270, and a pretty interesting and promising device from this company that's new in the business of smartphones. That's it from now. From gsndom.com, bye bye.